Day 5. In Austin, Day 3. Of the Southwest by Southwest, and at the same time, oh, I forgot to nod the microphone. Day 5. In Austin, Day 3. Of the Southwest by Southwest, and unfortunately, at the same time, the final evening and final reporting, my final note. And the third day was once again a real potpourri of what makes the Southwest by Southwest. Between the German House, the experience centers of the main sponsors, the Dubai Future Museum. The lectures, which are sometimes great, but sometimes maybe just not quite meet the expectations. Everything was definitely included. I also had my little star moment, because you get that at the Southwest by Southwest too, and that was seeing Ben Stiller live. The renowned, well-known actor, probably the most famous bowlegs in the acting scene. And to experience him on stage together with an Apple manager where they talked about what the future and the counterpoint of storytelling actually are. And they particularly focused on one point, namely, well, I would say how much films and series. Naturally, they really transfer and project into the target audience across multiple levels, where entire fan bases emerge who essentially express themselves, discuss, and already speculate in the digital world on a third, fourth level about what could happen, where you truly realize what storytelling and series and film production actually mean today. Actually means so. As mentioned, stars and celebrities definitely belong to South by Southwest, just like absolute content does. And my highlight today was a lecture, or rather, a discussion round with Tracy Bauer. She is, after all, a futurist, particularly focused on generational research. And the topic of work life, or rather, focused on workplaces. And she discussed what actually is the why of the current and future generations. And I want to share one point with you because I found it very refreshing. Although she conducts generational research, she also said that we shouldn't always think so much in these generational terms, but rather we should also consider alternative thinking models. For example, she simply said that you can think about beginners, you can think about those in the middle stage, and you can think about those who are slowly leaving professional life. And when you think in these stages, you are actually approaching things more individually and perhaps more consciously, rather than simply categorizing people into boxes, like generations, and then constantly drawing conclusions from that. I found that very refreshing. Good way of thinking. And in that context, she also said that in these stages, people actually have the same needs, just different priorities. In the middle stage, for example, you might typically have just become a parent and naturally have different focal points because you need to worry about how you can actually manage things. Family and work life, small children, children who are just growing up, how can I actually combine them with work? So to speak, how can I do justice to these tasks at home, but also to the job in professional life? And then she coined the term dimensionality, where she said that nowadays, people who work actually have multiple dimensions. It's no longer about this work-life balance, but rather you actually have multiple dimensions. You have specific hobbies, you also have your professional life, you also have your private life, but people actually operate more in these different dimensions and try to pursue each with depth. And also, to some extent, distribute the priorities correctly. I also found that to be a good image, so that it could be a bit of a departure from this eternal work-life balance discussion. And in conclusion, she actually confirmed something again, or also described what is an old hat, because we know the old saying, people leave the company because of bad managers. That means the leaders are often the central point why someone might not stay with a company. However, they also clearly stated in this context that people choose their company, where they want to work, often because of the expected culture there. That means employer branding is, of course, in demand, because you can essentially shape this expected culture or articulate it so that it becomes clear to the people out there, and so that they then say, okay, I definitely want to work there. But if we now combine this with the topic you leave because of bad managers, then it's clear we need to create a symbiosis, a congruence between what I expect as a culture and what the managers actually deliver. Because if a dissent arises, a contradiction arises between what I expected, the reason I came, and then the manager, of course, does not embody this culture at all, receives or simply does not confirm, then a contradiction quickly arises, which ultimately leads to leaving as well. Accordingly, a very clear point. Actually, once again, employer branding in its entire dimensionality. To also see and above all really fulfill this task, I have to align the expectations I have created with what the employees, the managers, the leaders are trying to deliver so that there is a match, ensuring that our employees and today's generation stay long-term. Yes, with this closing note, I thank you for your attention over 5 days in Austin. It was a pleasure for us, and I would say we'll see each other again at the latest next year. Howdy. Out.